All right, everyone, it is that time of year. Yes, Oscar extravaganza, red carpet, beautiful Hollywood style stuff. So I loved the way Adele looked on the Oscars, especially when she won and she did her acceptance speech. So I'm using that as my inspiration for the Adele Oscar inspired look that I'm going to be doing right now, that I am doing. And so I hope that you guys will enjoy this. I really loved the classic look that she goes for, the real kind of vintage style, and she really works the lashes and the liner. And I just want to really um, emphasize that look on this because I just got so inspired by looking at what she's doing. Now, obviously, I'm putting a ton of powder because I really want to mattify the skin. And so what I'm doing is I already did the foundation, and I'm really just mattifying the whole face with the translucent powder. And it looks like I'm putting a lot of powder on, but I used like a super dewy foundation, but a very cream color foundation. And so, and her skin tends to get really greasy, so I really wanted to make sure to really mattify it as well as possible. So now what I'm going to do is I am putting the very important aspect to this vintage style look for what Adele wore at the Oscars last night. Um, Basically, I'm putting a highlighting powder on the lid because I want the lids to really pop out. And once we do the liner, it's going to really create a nice dimension and also a difference in the way the lid to the liner ratio is. It really gives it more space. So by putting the light on the lid is really important. And this is fairly, it's really all about the liner. I mean, this look is all about the liner and the lips, so, you just want to create the nicest symmetry for the lead when you put the liner on. So I'm putting the light here, and it seems like I'm putting a lot, but see, we're also focused on the fact that this has to be like, red carpet ready. So I'm doing a little bit more intensified level of application here. So here I'm just putting it right clean and just put it all over the lid. And then I'm going to go with a slight lighter version right underneath the brow bone. So I'm using like a warmer tone on the lid, even though it's very pearl and white. It's more oyster. On the lid, I'm using much more of a lighter white, and I call it a much more pearlized. So, and they're both shimmers, which I think is really important because it creates a nice reflection. So, and this is very, an ode to like Marilyn for sure. And I think Adele really has a lot of influence with the way she wears her makeup from that era for sure. So I put that right on the brow bone right there. And I'm really, I know when I'm dealing with someone who has a lot of, natural oils in their skin, I really tend to go a little bit heavier because I know that by the time they walk away from the seat, their oils are going to really absorb a lot of the color, and you can always tone it down. So now that I did that, I'm going to go right into the crease, and I'm using a rounded brush, and I'm going to go with a kind of a soft brown right in the crease, and see how I'm just kind of creating the angle and the shape. So go right into the crease like that. And then with that, it's going to help create more depth in the crease, which will allow nice symmetry with the dimension of the lights and then with the liner. So this was a very a very used technique back in the 40s. So it's very 40s, 50s style. So see how I'm just kind of kicking that a little bit? I'm just giving that. And I'm going to blend all of this together, so I'm just using this as sort of a guide. So that way everything will look nicely balanced once we blend it in. And and like I said, it's a very clean, quick look. So now I'm taking a little bit of the blusher that I'm going to use, and I'm taking that with my blending brush, and I'm blending that right in the crease. So see how that just all kind of blended together, and yet it created a nice little depth. Okay, so I'm going to use the same technique on this, and I put a little bit of the blush color of what I'm going to use on her cheeks, and I put that right in the crease like that. And see how that all kind of, it looks now all balanced, and it really does create a nice symmetry and feel. So I'm going to take the light brush that I use on the lid, and I'm going to just go over it a little bit, because I don't want it to be so, the dark part of the crease go right into the lid too much. I just want a little bit of an indentation. So you want to just kind of make sure to go over that, and that way you have a nice balance, and everything is all kind of working together and creating nice symmetry and balance. So there we go. And look at, you can see the gradations of the lights and the darks, and how it's creating a nice symmetry and balance to the eye. Okay, so now I'm going to go right in the crease again, and just kind of, now I'm defining it a touch more right underneath. And so this is, this is really important, because this really creates the dimension in the lid. And so I'm using actually much more of a rectangle brush, a flatter rectangle brush, because that gives you a nice, much more nicer edge to it. And see how that is? Just gives it a little bit more like that. There you go. And see, even though this makeup looks really, really simple, no matter how light the shadows are or whatever, you really have to work equally with the right balance of shading, no matter what tone of shadows you're using, because you're placing the tones to create dimension and symmetry. So no matter if you're doing a really dark smoky eye or a light color like this, you still want to place it where it looks really pretty on the eye. Okay, so now that we're doing that, and we're just letting the eyes to really set in, and see how it's all starting to blend out. And I'm just going to go right now with my fallout powder. I'm just going to clean that up just a little bit more, not just making sure that everything sets in really well. And let it set for a second. So now I'm going to put some blush on her cheek, and the same color blush that I used on the crease of her eye, I'm going to put that right on her cheeks, and that gives a nice balance, and yet it gives it a nice, just a peachy, pinky tone to her cheek, but not overpowering her face. And so I'm putting it right along the apples of her cheek, and I'm really emphasizing in the front of her cheeks, I'm not going in or out. I'm just going right along the ledge of her cheeks. So I'm going to take a little bit of a highlighting powder, a soft highlighting powder, and I'm going to brush off the fallout powder as well. And I'm just going to have her look up and see how, just adding a little bit of highlighting powder on the top, very soft, because I don't want it to, I still like that matte feel on the skin. So I don't want to go too high. So I'm using a very soft highlighting powder without too much illumination. Okay, so now I'm going to go and define her brows. And this is really, really important, because this has to have a good balance to the liner. And I'm going to go with a very heavy line. So, and remember how Adele really had that really strong liner with the lashes. This definitely will create a nice even balance to the eye. So I'm just pulling, and I want to create a nice arch, and Adele has such great arch in her eye. I love that. And I think with this, it creates a nice symmetry and balance and pull, so definitely don't be afraid to when you're doing this look to really define the brows in a way where you have really, really nice symmetry, okay? That's really, really important. And you'll see how it all pulls together, because when you do this look, you'll know that if you just do all that with the eyebrows and then nothing on the lid, you know, it's okay, it's a different look, but it's what we're doing is we're recreating the Adele look that she wore at the Oscars. So we want to keep it that vintage feel. And there's no rules, definitely no rules. So here I'm gonna go, and I'm using a powder. I'm using a dark brown powder, and the dark brown powder I love because it really goes right onto the skin and it blends well with the hair. Now, I choose to do this because for me I have much more control, but by all means, if you're comfortable using pencils, there's no rules and you can definitely use pencils. I don't have any opposition to people using different things if it helps them get and execute their best application. So I just wanted to make sure that I'm just, for me, focusing and emphasizing what's really important. So I'm just going to go right there just to create a nice little tail on the brow. And it's really important to create symmetry and balance. There we go. Just finishing that up. Because this is a very vintage inspired look, for sure. This is really, really important that we create as much balance and symmetry. So now I'm taking a liner, and I'm using gel liner, and I'm pulling, if you can see how I'm pulling the lid up like that, because I want to actually have a thinner line in the inner part, and then I'm going to create more of a thicker line as I pull out. And you don't want the line to be so thick in the inner part. So I'm taking these little small strokes, and then I'm going to just go right back. Because it still is a very thick line and a very prominent line, and I'm going to just do a tinge of an exaggerated line because we're going for that Adele look, and she really definitely used a very intense liner on her eye. And so I'm just going to drag that over, just pull and drag, and just go. Now this gel liner is a little bit, seems like it's drying because it's kind of chilly, and so when you're using gel liner, you know, you definitely have to always take in consideration the type of climate you're dealing with, the microclimate. If it's really, really, really cold, it's going to dry up faster. So you always want to make sure that you clean and you work fast. And, you know, also you can always use, for sure, a pencil first as a guide and then go over it with a gel or a liquid. But yeah, I mean, it's really important. And I'm just, as you can see, I'm just trying to create a nice little guide here. And I'm trying to match up see where the inner line of her crease, I want it to kind of go right into that line. So now I'm going to just clean this up and just create a nice shape to this. There we go. Now I know that Adele, she really, I mean, and you know, you have to understand everybody has a different shape eye, so you have to work with the shape that you're dealing with. The application look is the same, but everybody has a different way to put it on because of the shape of their eye. So that's always something you have to take in consideration. So I'm going to just have to just really work very, 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 very diligently to make sure that this liner doesn't, it's really dry and fast, which I don't really love, but you have to always work under the conditions knowing what you're dealing with. So there you go. So now I'm just going to go right there, just drag, and there we go. But you're getting the picture. You're understanding. And I'm using just a really just kind of a loose, just drag and pull, drag and pull, drag and pull, drag and pull effect. And this definitely is going to look great once it's set and everything looks really up to par. And it's such a to me an elegant look, this whole look, you know, for sure. It's definitely an elegant look. Now this, let's take a little more. So you gotta always go back and forth just to match the eyes, for sure. You know, and this is something that, you know, will take practice, and you just have to keep doing it until you get really good at it. You know, practice makes perfect. So now I'm just gonna add a little bit of just a little point at the end. Oh, see, she opened her eyes. And this is something that you need to fix right away. When anything smudges, you always want to clean it right away, because it's going to be a nightmare for sure to clean. Always clean your work. And this is what makes your work look really clean when you do the job, rather than just leave it empty. You know, really, really important. So, just gonna clean that up. And cleaning it up, you really create a nice balance. I'm using a little bit of concealer, and I'm cleaning up any kind of smudge or any kind of flaw that might have happened in the process, because I'm dealing with a very, very fast drying eyeliner that I didn't want to deal with. So this is a good trick of the trade. So you just always clean it up first. There you go. And then what good is new. And when you're cleaning your work up, you'll be very happy and thankful afterwards, because you can always go back to making sure your work looks its best. And that's sometimes when you're working on models and stuff like that, they will open their eyes prematurely, and you always have to prepare yourself for that, because when you deal with anyone that tends to open their eyes a lot, and the makeup's not set yet, you know, that's part for the course of being a makeup artist. You have to understand. Okay, so now I'm just going right in and just covering up what I might have rubbed out, and this is really, really important to do that, because you want to make sure you create a nice even tone, because you don't want to rub out anything that you might have over covered. And see how pretty that's looking? It's looking really, really nice and really excited. And okay, so I'm just pulling that out, blending it all in. Yeah, it's starting to look really pretty. And then setting it. And this is the kind of look that, you know, it just, the more you do it, the better you'll keep doing. And I'm just going to clean up those little edges right there. Just going to drag that up a little bit more. There we go. See how, even though this looks like a simple look, it isn't. It is not simple at all, and it takes practice. So definitely, practice makes perfect, and always know that, you know, you have to just keep doing it until you perfect it. You know, so for sure, practice makes perfect. And just clean it up right there. There we go. I just love this eyeliner look. To me, the eyeliner look is so, it's so sophisticated, so elegant. And one of the things that I find with the eyeliner looks is that it never really, it never goes out of style, you know, and it's really in style right now for sure. But even then, it never really goes out of style. The shapes might go a little bit, you know, different directions or whatever, but you know, eyeliner's always in. And even when they, like right now, there's a lot of deconstructed looks going on. You're always going to find an eyeliner look in the repertoire of what's going on the runways or the red carpets. So, you know, to me, it's not ever a look that, you know, you're dealing with that's going to go out of vogue, you know, and what do you call it, out of style. And you know, so it's definitely a look that you ought to definitely perfect because it's a look that you're going to be using for many years to come. And you know, like Marilyn is so classic, and she's very synonymous to this look. And I think that's really important that, you know, one of the things that I feel women will ask is to do a really cool liner, or you know, like a smoky eye is another really popular look, and especially with, you know, with so many celebrities really sporting that look, you know, you're gonna definitely get asked a lot to do those kind of looks. So you always want to practice those looks because it's definitely, if you're a makeup artist and you want to keep doing makeup, you're going to be asked to do a lot of those looks. Or if you're just a novice and you like to do your own makeup or your friend's makeup, still, it's a look that you need to do for sure. Alrighty, so now that we're letting that set, I'm really, really excited how pretty that's looking. And everything is setting really pretty. And I'm just setting the liner so it doesn't smudge. And that's a trick. I'm gonna put a coat of really, really black lashes um, on her because I want this to really, 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 really just pop out. Now, Adele definitely used some serious lashes. I'm just going with the black mascara because I don't think that it doesn't always have to be with the lashes to get this look. If you have really good lashes that you're working with, you can definitely use what they have and you can mimic that whole lash look. But I think with this, I'm not gonna go, I'm making an executive decision because I'm Margifying it. I don't like to copy exact. I always like to add my own twist to things. So I'm just gonna really, really, really emphasize on the lashes and really use the natural lashes. And see, I'm doing a curl and pull motion on the lashes because I really want to thicken them and really draw them out with the line. And see how it's just really pulling in. Okay, so now I'm gonna just go in again with the liner and just gonna go clean that up a little bit more. Just pull that up a little bit more. And just create a nice little angle. There we go. There we go. Just to create a nice symmetry. She really had super, super dark black thick liner on. So I'm just trying to make sure that we can get that in and really make that so obviously pronounced. Okay, so I'm just gonna get that and really, 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 really create that symmetry. There we go. Okay. Let's create that symmetry. Just, this is where, you know, balance is sometimes really hard to, because everyone has two different sides of their face. And you have to make sure that when you're doing any kind of liner, you know, that you have to also consider the the type of eyes they have. Is it close set? Is it far set? You know, and that's something that is always confusing because you have to realize that when you're dealing with any kind of, you know, exaggerated shape eyes, it's really, you have to always take those things in consideration, you know. So it's really important that you always use that. Now this is a trick that's really important is when you're finished doing any kind of gel or liquid, put a little bit of translucent powder over it just to set it, because otherwise it will just go all over the place for sure. And it may still bleed, but just, you want to always just set it and let it create a nice symmetry, because I don't want this to bleed at all. And she has very almond shaped eyes, so they may tend to, you know, hit the part of her lid when she opens them. And so, as well, like Asian eyes tend to do that too, so you always want to take those things in consideration. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the lips. And the lips, I'm using a classic kind of a corally red. And if you noticed, there was a lot of red lipstick on the red carpet. There was a lot of nude and a lot of red. And there was all, you know, all shades of red. And there was like blood red, there was a corally red. I'm going with the corally red because I think it really looks very vintage and it's very pretty. And it really has a nice complementary look with the lids and that vintage feel. So I'm going with the coral. And it's very sexy. I think it has a very sexy feel, and yet it's very mysterious at the same time. So I'm just going to go right into her natural shape. And making sure that all that is looking clean and symmetrical. I'm taking small little strokes up. Just really creating a nice natural shape to the lip. And if you're ever interested in learning these techniques and you want to take some private training, or you want to take the online training, which I highly recommend, go to mkcbeautyacademy.com. That's mkcbeautyacademy.com. Definitely, if you're just interested in learning, I would take the online training. I put a lot into it. We're getting rave reviews, and it's great because you can, you know, do it at a really reasonable price. At the same time, you can do it at your own pace at any time of the day or night, and it's so great. So definitely, you know, it's packed full of technique. And if you want to take the certification program, you can do that too as well online. And you can also do a blended where you can do part of it online and you can come in and do the training. So there's always something for everybody, but definitely check out my school, mkcbeautyacademy.com. So this is definitely a look that I highly recommend, that you definitely practice as much as possible. But I loved how Adele looked on the Oscars. I thought she looked so elegant. She's such a great singer, and she just represents women of, you know, of strength and power, and anything can happen attitude. And I really love that about her. And she seems so down to earth. And so, you know, this is my homage to her. And of course, Margaret ized it to, you know, appease my own creativity. But so here I'm actually paying homage to Marilyn, and I'm gonna put a little beauty mark, and just to kind of really give it that ultra vintage feel. But it's a very cute, I call it facial accessory, you know, but this is just something that I'm just doing for fun. So, and there you go. There is the Adele Oscar inspired look. I'm going to put a little bit more blush just to give it a little bit more um, balance. And it's an eyeliner look. You can also put some serious lashes. I didn't. I just kept it really clean and natural with the natural lashes, but I really went with super black mascara, and I really just, you know, wanted to tone it down just a touch, but make it more wearable. So definitely practice this look, have fun, and I'll see you at the next one. Thanks for watching. If you like it, subscribe, and I have many more looks coming up.